Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing my first makeup tutorial. This is my everyday look. I know it's a little more glam than some people's everyday look, but since I don't work a normal job, my everyday is doing photo shoots and filming content. So this is my everyday look if you're interested. All of the products that I use today are linked down below. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the video, so I hope you enjoy. Okay guys, so I have already exfoliated and moisturized my face, which I do before doing my makeup every day. The thing I use to moisturize with is this Pond's face moisturizer. You can get it at Walgreens. It's really good, but when you use it, make sure you avoid your eyebrows because it is really greasy and it'll make your eyebrow makeup like smudge. First thing I do is my eyebrows. I have these Madluv brow stamps. I bought one in medium brown and that ended up being too dark, so I bought one in blonde, which is perfect. However, when I do really glam makeup, or I guess what today too, a soft glam, I go in with both of the stamps. Probably can't really see the difference there, but I go in with both stamps, the lighter one first and then the darker one near the edge to give it a little bit more of a natural ombre. And when you order these, you can pick out your stencils. I have a bunch of them. My favorite one is the Mystic stencil. It's shorter than the other ones. And then I also use a brow brush. So first thing I do is brush out my brows. Okay, so that is the blonde, and then I go in just after the arch and lightly kind of darken it towards the ends. And then I use this brush and I just put a little bit of the blonde shade on it and really fill in the line. If it looks really sharp, I'll just go over the top. And just kind of round out the edge, soften it a little bit, so it looks a little more natural. Okay, so the next thing that I do is outline my brows. So I take one of these and I use the lightest shade in the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer, which is the light number 1. And I only use this to trace the underside of my brows. I do the top later and I do that with the same concealer that matches my skin color. But I like it to be lighter under my brows, which is why I use this. And this is really good for applying eyeshadow on top of. Okay, once I have a good trace, I just kind of pull the rest of that down onto my eyelid and buff it in and kind of blend it out. I don't like to keep it too thick right under my brow. I just start with a lot so I can use it to cover my entire eyelid. I also really like tracing because it gives me a chance to fix any imperfections with my brows. And this one always is a lot easier for me to do because it's naturally fuller and has a better shape. And then this eyebrow, it doesn't really match as well, so I kind of have to do a little more work to this one. So doing a trace like this gives me another chance to get them to match a lot better. Okay, I'm just gonna add a little bit more. And voila. If only it was that simple, right? Alright, so the next thing I do is my eyeshadow, and typically I do a very natural smoky eye. So for this I'm using the Morphe James Charles palette. The first color I'm going to use is this soft brown shade right here. And I'm just going to buff that into the crease of my eyelid. Okay, once I have that applied right in the crease, I add a little bit more going towards the outside, and I slowly buff outwards towards my eyebrow, letting it fade and almost kind of disappear. I don't add more makeup to my brush when I fade it upwards and inside. Okay, and then I'm just going to repeat on the other side. So next, I go in with a much darker brown shade. Sometimes I'll use this one, sometimes I'll use this one. Today I'm going to use this one. They are pretty similar, even though they look a lot different, like a lot more different on the palette. They actually come off almost the same. And I just dab it on from right on my lashes up until the crease where I had the other color. Right there. And then I go in with a blending brush and I just kind of fade that into the crack under the first color and then across my eyelid. So with this darker brown, I usually bring it from the very outer corner to about the center of my eyelid. But I put it on a lot thicker on the outer corner and then I let it go a little thinner on the inside. Okay, once I have the second color applied and buffed out, I will either go ahead and move on to the light color, depending on how glam I want to be, or I will add black. So today I'm going to add the black, and I take a very small makeup brush, tiny, and I just dab it on the very outer corner. Like that, and then I take the same blending brush as before and just kind of blend that in. Okay, so that's what it looks like so far. A hot mess, basically. So I always do a cut crease. So this is the same concealer and the same brush that I used under my brows. And I'm just going to pull my lid a little bit. Like that. It's definitely more concealer than I needed, so I just wipe it off, and then you start in here and just kind of pull the concealer down. Wipe a little more off. Okay, so my cut crease, I only bring it halfway, so what I do is remove all the makeup from my brush. I start in here and I slowly just kind of pull the concealer and then dab it. So it just kind of does like a natural fade. Okay, so once I have my crease made, be really careful not to open your eyes too wide, because it'll get the concealer everywhere. What I use for the inside is Urban Decay Half Baked Eyeshadow. It's a really pretty gold. I'm missing a chunk because I dropped it this morning. The same brush that I've been using to apply the concealer, and I get a whole bunch of this on there, and then I just start at the top and I just pat it on. Okay, so I'm gonna go back in with my blending brush. It still has a little bit of the medium brown color on it, and I'm just kind of gonna add a little bit more of a blend right above the gold. So sometimes I do eyeliner and sometimes I don't. Again, just depending on if I want it to be a little bit more of an actual glam or if I want it to be slightly more of a soft glam. But I'm gonna go ahead and just add a thin line of eyeliner. I also know it's not good to pull on your lid like this. It can cause wrinkles and stuff like that, but I don't really care, so. Okay, so now I'm going to do the lashes. I got these at Sephora, I believe. They're just Sephora brand eyelashes. They're the number 6 Mink 1000+ fiber counts. And I've actually already, I don't know why it won't focus, so you can read it there. I've actually already worn these once, so they're already cut to my length. I always cut my lashes because I have small eyes. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry a little bit more and then do this one, and I'll be right back. When the eyelash glue is about halfway dry, so your eyelash won't pull off if you touch it, but yet it's still a little gooey, is when I like to go in and kind of push up from the middle to the outer corners, which helps reshape them. So instead of them sticking more this way, it'll kind of lift them a little bit. Okay, so now I'm just going to do my face makeup. I'm gonna go in with a makeup removing wipe and get all of the excess makeup that fell. I don't go all the way up like this eyeshadow. I'm not going to wipe that off because I'm gonna add makeup under my eyes in a little bit, and it'll kind of buff it out. Okay. So I use the Blemish Control Face Primer by e.l.f. and I only use a little bit of that just on the spots that I'm having blemishes. I found that this primer does get a little sticky, so I don't like to use it on my whole face because I feel like it gives my makeup a weird texture, but it is really good for these blemish spots because I add an extra layer of concealer. So I use a soft matte complete concealer anti crease corrector in the colored medium 1 custard. It's a mouthful, but this is what it looks like. It's a little bit darker than my skin color, but it works because it's just a base to help conceal this, and then I go over it with my actual foundation. Okay, now I'm going to go in just here and here and maybe a little on my nose, because after I exfoliate and after I get a lot of sun, sometimes that part of my face is a lot more red, like it is right now. I'm just kind of spreading it into a nice even layer. I'm not buffing it out or blending it out yet. I'm just covering all of my major imperfections, which is almost my entire face. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with my beauty blender and just kind of blend out the parts that are really intense, but I forgot to prep my sponge, so I'm gonna go do that really quick and I will be right back. Take this and just kind of buff it out. Sometimes I don't even do this. It's not completely necessary because, like I said, I'm gonna go over top of this with my actual foundation, and then when I blend that into my face, it obviously helps blend all of this in. So for my full coverage foundation, Full Face Foundation by Tarte, and the color 27 in Light Medium Neutral. That's what it looks like. I do have these in like 10 different shades because I tan a lot. So I'm constantly having to change the color of my foundation. I'm not even sure if it'll be a good match right now. I think that looks fine. So I just put a little bit of the makeup on the sponge, and then I blend it in like that. So now I'm going to take just a little bit of this concealer that I used on my face, and I'm going to outline the top of my brows. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so for blending out around my brows a little more, and down my nose and around under my eyes, I'm going to use this small beauty blender. I'm just gonna go. Okay, so it got really dark in here. It was getting pretty late, so I turned on the light in here. Yeah. So I'm gonna go in again with the same Nars Light concealer that I use for my brows and my eyes, and I'm just going to put it right under my eyes like that. Okay, that looks a little crazy, but whatever. Yeah. So I'm just gonna blend that in. Okay, so once that is all blended, I'm gonna go in with Luxury Baking Powder in the shade Ghost by Revolution. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I actually have a coaster that I keep my baking powder on with a sponge. I just use one of these triangle disposable sponges, and I leave a small space right under my eye, and I just kind of lightly push the powder in. Okay, and sometimes, like right now, when I'm feeling extra oily, I'll add a little bit to my chin. But that's about it. Sometimes I'll do the bridge of my nose. And yeah, so next I'm going to go in with my Too Faced Cocoa Couture Chiseled to Perfection contour. I know it's a mess because when I travel, the brush that usually goes in there, I'll put the baking powder in here, so it's a little more convenient to travel with, but it ended up making a mess. I don't use I don't even know what this is. I think this is supposed to just be like full face powder, and this is highlighter. I've never used either of those. I just use this with one of these brushes, and I kind of mix. Sometimes I'll use more of the lighter, and sometimes I use a little bit more of the darker shade, but I pretty much always mix them. Again, it just depends on how glam I'm trying to get. If I'm trying to go a little more extreme, but I always start right in front of my ear and just kind of follow my cheekbone. That was my cat, in case you're wondering what the weird noise is. One of my cats is over here snoring and the other one is back there licking herself, so I apologize. But they get really stressed when I kick them out, so just gotta deal with it. Alright, so I do the typical number 3 that most people do, and then when I do my chin, I'll kind of pull it back a little bit when I blend it, just so it's not like such a harsh line, you know what I mean? So I did skip a step because I didn't feel like it was super necessary today, especially if you're good enough with the powder. But sometimes I'll go in with this Super Stay multi-use foundation stick. I have it in the darkest color they make it, but it doesn't seem to have like a color number or name or anything, but it was the darkest one they had. And sometimes I'll draw a line and kind of blend that into my skin, and then I'll go in with the powder after. But that's usually when I'm going more glam. I honestly don't think it really makes a difference. It's just like sometimes I feel like doing it, sometimes I don't. Okay, so the weirdest part is I'm gonna go back and do my under eyes now. I don't know why I do it last, but I just feel like a perfect time is when I have this powder right here. It kind of protects it. Not really though, because I mean, I don't know. I'm weird. So what I'm doing is I'm going in with the lightest shade of brown that I originally started with, and I'm using this brush and just kind of going as close up, just rubbing right against my bottom lashes and pulling that color all the way from the very end corner all the way out. It helps to have your eye fully closed, so that way you can really just push up against the lashes. Yeah. And now I'm gonna go in with the second brown, the darker, and I'm gonna start in the middle here and go to the outer corner. And I am not going to use the black on the bottom, just because I don't feel like it's necessary. It's already really dark. Yeah. And then I'm going to take the same concealer brush and I'm going to dab just the smallest little bit of concealer. I'm just gonna blend that from the inner corner close to the middle. But the original brown that I went in with still went down lower, so there's still that brown underneath. And then I'm gonna wipe off this brush and I'm gonna go in with the gold eyeshadow. Just kind of tap that right I don't know why I'm whispering. I have to whisper when I'm putting on eyeshadow because I'm weird. I feel like this lash, this corner, needs to be pulled down a little bit. But yeah, and then I'm gonna take my sponge and just kind of do that little number. Just kind of blend it where it's at and then upwards. And then if I need to, I'll go back in with the foundation or contour. Alright, and then I'm going to take a clean, this is like a bigger blending makeup brush. And I'm just gonna go in and buff out any of the baking powder that's left. Then I'm gonna use this Sonia Kashuk blush in the shade 51. And I lightly just take this between my contour and the lightest part under my eyes and basically use this to blend the two of those things together and lightly just add some color to my cheeks because using full face foundation and making under your eyes can really wash you out, make you look pale. So I definitely like to use some blush. There's like almost nothing left on the brush. I'm just pulling it across my lip to kind of add a little bit of color, liveliness to me, I guess, you know, so I don't look like a corpse. I do feel like my ring light is flushing me out a little bit. It's making me look a little more pale than I normally do. So now I'm going to take my makeup brush and I'm just going to remove all the makeup that was covering my lips. A lot of times I won't even put anything on my lips. I'll just wipe them off. It definitely makes it look a lot more of a soft glam. Excuse me. Because I already have a lot of color to my lips naturally. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you. Okay, so I've never been big on a super bold lip. I always prefer neutral colors and more brown colors. What I do is I just go in and line my lip. Yeah, so once I have the outline, sometimes I'll pull it in a little bit. Just like drawing lines. Kinda pulls it in. And then I just go in with my finger and I put a little pressure on it. And I pull that inwards, so I'm buffing the line in towards the center of my lip. At this point, normally what I would do is I would put on chapstick and rub my lips together to really get it to just kind of blend out smoothly. But I can't find my chapstick, so I'm going to use lip gloss. I actually personally hate lip gloss, but I saw this one and I thought it was really cute and I ended up loving it. And this is Victoria's Secret Glowing Lip Shine. It's really pretty. It's like a pinkish brownish gold color, which goes perfect with the color scheme that I'm always wearing. So what I do is I put this on, I rub it in, and then sometimes I'll take a paper towel and I'll just dab my lips to get the like really glossiness off and still leave like the perfect blended color. But sometimes I'll leave it on. Lip gloss is one of those things that you have to retouch really often, so I usually just put it on the first time and then I don't retouch it. But it's great for kind of smoothing out the lip liner because I like a really matte lip, if that makes sense. I mean, I have gloss on, so it's not like matte, but... Okay, and now the very last part is the highlighter. So I use Too Faced. This is clearly old and been used a lot. This is Canary Diamond, and it looks a little rough because again I use it a lot and the top has gotten really like smushed down, but it still works beautifully. So I actually like to use a fluffy eyeshadow brush like this one. There's no makeup on it, it's just stained. And then I always pull the eyeshadow from like the corner because that's where it's the brightest. Since this part got kind of patted down, you can't pull as much product from the center of it. So I always just highlight this very tip of my nose. I'll go in and just kind of make sure there's nothing like loose and falling. Just kind of pat it in, buff it in, and then a small bit on the crease of my nose, bridge of my nose, you know what I meant. Alright, so normally I would pat some on my upper lip right here, but because I have lip gloss, I'm not going to do that right now. But I just go in and do this corner of my cheekbone and I'll bring it up a tiny bit. Okay, and then I take my favorite brush again to kind of clean that off. This flat brush is perfect, so I just go in and pick up some product on this very top of the brush, and I go in to just this inner corner, highlight it right there. That highlight I do either more or less depending on how glam I want my makeup to be. I pretty much always do this same makeup look, but I'll like tone it up or tone it down. I'll get bigger lashes or I'll get smaller lashes. I'll go a little bit lighter with my brows, or I'll go a little darker towards the edges and stuff like that. But other than that, this is pretty much the premise of how I always do my makeup.
For so long, I've been trying to get you out of my head. Oh yeah, but somehow I always seem to wait.
Alright guys, thank you for for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and go subscribe to my channel for more. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.